This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Hello, and welcome to episode of The Empty Chair. Cole gave me a little Christmas present. She decided to let me host the show, and she'll be back on the next episode. And before I introduce our guests, uh, you know, during this holiday season, this is when it really gets tough for those that are suffering from addiction, the families of those who have loved ones that are suffering and have lost those to addiction. So I hope you'll keep especially them in their prayers. And also, those of you that know family members that have someone that's suffering, you'll see our ad over here anyway, the Circle of Hope, and you know it'll have my phone number there. Give us a call. I mean, one thing I've learned over years and years and years is that dealing with an addict is not something you should do on your own. And we have a lot of support. So it's got my phone number. If you feel a little nervous about taking that first step, then just give me a quick call and we'll talk. And if you're not ready to sit down with our weekly group, then Fran and I will invite you over the house and we have a little one-on-one to make you feel a little more comfortable about it. So don't be afraid to give us a quick call. And that being said, it's kind of nice to be back. Nice to see you, Lou.
It's nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Yep.
And what we have today is we have two guests. One's a repeater, Reggie, and the other fella is Joel. Is it? But you keep calling him something else, didn't you?
I call him Guido.
Guido?
Yeah.
Do you like Guido or do you like Joel?
I like Italian food.
All right. So should I just call you Meatball?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So what we're going to do is obviously you guys have a connection, but what we'd like to do is maybe just take, about 10 minutes. You can kind of refresh everybody, Reggie, on your story, and then we'll go to Meatball, and we'll listen a little bit here. And then I'd like to hear your connection. And, I know everybody always has a story about, the bad times, and I know we have to hear that. But me, I'm more into the miracle of recovery.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you guys have got a lot of years in, and that's the part I like. To me, it is the miracle of recovery, and I like to have people emphasize that so that they know that there is life after addiction.
Yeah.
So, Reggie, we'll let you get the ball rolling.
All right. Well, thank you, Phil. Cole, I see you're out there. Hi, guys. So, how you doing?
Cole, I ain't got my glasses. I can't see shit.
I was trying to figure out how to comment back to you, but I couldn't do it. And I wore this hat just for you because you always wear those special hats, and I was looking forward to seeing you. But I hope you feel better soon. And
I'm sorry you got stuck with somebody other than Cole.
That's okay. That's a good person to get stuck with. So yeah, I just tell you, a couple days ago, I celebrated 31 years in recovery.
Awesome.
And it's one day at a time, and I'm not confused about that. Sometimes people say that clean time doesn't count because we only got today, and it's true that we only have today. But if you don't think clean time counts, get some, and then we'll see. But sure, just like Phil said, don't want to get into like all the stuff that I did. I just can tell you that I started using a liquid substance when I was 12 years old. Stole a bottle of whiskey from my stepdad, and hooked up with a friend of mine, and his older brother was he's in a band, and he had a coffee can full of this leafy substance. We thought we'd try that out, and like an addict was born. I was off and running, and I chased that feeling for many years. So 12 years old, I started using, and at 30 years old, I finally figured out that I better change my life or I was going to die. And through that time, I just, I spent a lot of time in and out of prison and jackpots, and no longer welcome, at family events.
Sure. Tell me, Reggie,
just nasty.
How far did you go up the drug chain, so to speak? I know you did alcohol, but
yeah,
I mean, was that your drug of choice, or did you move on to bigger and better?
Yeah, bigger and better, we called it. Yeah. It's funny you asked that, because that's kind of how things went for me. I would make new rules for myself. Well, at least I'm not that bad because I don't do what that person does. So,
sure.
I'm not living under the bridge, and, those kinds of things. So, over the years, I just continued to break my own rules, and I'd try another drug because somebody would say, oh, you got to try this. And,
right.
So I kind of became, like the old commercial, let Mikey try it. He'll try anything. And that was kind of how I was. And in the end, there was no longer like a drug of choice. I had done everything pretty much that I knew was available, on whether it was on the street, whether it was prescription, whether it came in a bottle and you drank it. It really, in the end, it didn't matter anymore. It was just about getting that next one, about getting out of myself. I just had a lot of low self-esteem growing up, didn't really feel like I was worthy. I wasn't good enough. And, it's all stuff that was in my own head.
Yeah.
And then, when I found that love affair with any kind of substance that would take me out of myself and make me feel different,
Yeah. Tell me something now. Now, you have how many years clean time?
Just celebrated 31.
All right.
December 15th
All right,
is
so
the actual date.
31. So when you got clean, there weren't a lot of places to go to get help. And I mean,
No.
addiction wasn't talked about like it is now.
Right.
So how did you find your path to recovery?
It was funny. My first introduction to a meeting was up in New Hampshire. I was living with a woman at the time who had, pretty much had it with me like everybody else, and told me it was time to leave or get help. And she heard about these meetings called AA, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, well, I don't have a problem with drinking. I don't know if that's really for me. And so she went back to work the next day, and she talked to some people, and they told her about an NA meeting. So she came back and she told me, well, there's an NA meeting. I said, oh, non-alcoholic. That's probably for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it meant Alcoholics Anonymous.
So would you think you were going to go and drink O'Doul's or something? Or?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that, they'd have drinks, and
Sure.
we'd just learn how to not do whatever drug it was that you thought you had a problem with. And, and from there, I started to hear about detoxes and stuff. And I ended up going through 7 different detoxes, before I finally surrendered, because I played games, and I would go to different 12-step fellowships thinking that I could only deal with that one substance that was mainly talked about. And I just bounced around like that for years, thinking I was different. I was unique, and I wasn't like other people. And you don't understand if you had my blah, 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 blah,
It's amazing. The stories that addicts can come up with on how they're going to chase their recovery, but not really.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. But now I know you went to detoxes. And like I said, this is going back quite a few years. Did you end up going into a longer term program, or did it finally just kick in? You hit the meetings and so forth.
No, actually, at that time, I was beaten so bad. I came out of prison. I was like about 160 pounds, 155 pounds. So
well, you must miss that part of it.
Oh God. Well, I could use to lose a few of those. Yeah. But I don't think I'd want to get back. That's
no.
And I just started to listen, and they suggested this 21-day program in Lynn, and then I went there, and then they suggested a halfway house.
Oh, okay.
So I went on to a 6-month halfway house. Then I went into a sober house living environment for about 6 more months. So almost 2 years I spent in some structured environment.
So even back then, you really did the step down program the way we kind of hope people will do it today.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't see, they think that's so long, but it was such a small piece of my life. I had already destroyed so many years.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know, so to give myself a year and a half to just try to do something different. And I mean, I needed to be taught how to live. I went, first time I went to a dentist, I had like 17 cavities, 5 teeth removed.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a mess. I didn't take care of myself anymore. And just near the end of my using, I was living down the street from here at Tumbarello's Junkyard.
Okay. Yeah. Know it well.
Eating out of a dumpster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as good as it got for me.
Yeah.
And then something clicked and I started to take the suggestions. And like, for instance, you talked about the long term, right? I was in a 21-day program and they wanted me to go to the halfway house next door. And I said to the counselor, I'd prefer not to go there. And he said, why not? I said, because there's women, that's co-ed.
I know that.
And I think I'll get in trouble. I'd rather go to that men's halfway house they have up in Malden. And his glasses came down on his nose and he looked at me and said, kid, that's the first honest thing you've said since you got here. He said, there might be hope for you. And it was just, uphill from there. I just took the suggestions, when I started going to meetings, I got a sponsor, and there's 5 musts. I tell people there's 5 musts for me. We suggest all these things at, recovery meetings, but I must go to meetings. I must have a sponsor. I must work the steps. I must ask for help. And the most important one, I must not use.
Yeah.
And if I do those 5 things, that's the formula that's worked for me for 31 years. Yeah. And I don't want to mess with it. I do other things outside of meetings in recovery for my own personal growth.
Right.
And I love going back into prisons and detoxes and carrying that message to let people know, like, there's hope for us. It doesn't matter how far down you went.
Okay. And now I'm going to interrupt you because that takes care of now you're clean.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the part of what you're doing now and how you 2 characters hooked up.
Sure.
By the way, guys, anybody who wants to call in, the number's there. You want to come in and you want to give us a call, say hi to one of these guys, or if you, for any reason that you want to call, just say hi. You're welcome to do that. The number's there. Now we're going to go, and I'm not going to tease you on your name no more. We're going to go to Joel. And Joel, you're no kid either. So what do you got for clean time?
7,719 days back to back.
Boy, I thought you were going to say years first.
No.
He loves counting the days.
Yeah.
About over 21 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. And all right, so I'm going to take a wild guess. You got that many years clean. We started at a pretty young age too, right?
I started about 11 to 12 years old. I can't really pinpoint exactly, but it was 11 to 12 years old. And my dad's whiskey cabinet, he did a lot of entertainment. My parents were not addicts.
Okay.
No, they were good people, and I was brought up in a good family. And from the second I took that first sip, I didn't realize what I was in for. I call it a roller coaster ride.
Okay.
For 31 years I used of my life. I know you think I'm like 39, but reality is I'm 66.
Yeah. I think you're 39 like I think I'm 39. Times 2.
Exactly. And I say to people all the time now, and I know for me, excuse me, the clock's ticking, man. Yeah. And I enjoy life today. Like my roller coaster ride, jails, institutions, man. Yeah. I'll never go there. I'll never be that bad. Yeah. Never. I'll never be that bad. I'll never be homeless. And everything I said that I would never do, I did because I got high.
Yeah.
Whether it's liquid or powder, whatever form insanity that you use, I'll be whoever you want me to be if I put one in me.
Now, I know a lot of people get addicted, it's a genetic thing and that. That's not the case with you then, right?
No.
So you started, is it because you were with buddies or just it was just something you took to.
It's that answer when you asked me that, like, wow, it's like when I went into that liquor cabinet, and I always wondered. My father entertained because he was a sales manager for Raytheon for a long time. He had a lot of dignitaries come in to my home in Burlington. I grew up in Burlington, Mass, and I saw them drinking, and I just was like, I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Yeah. But they only drank and had a couple of drinks. Right. I didn't know that, what was going to happen to me in the future when I took one. We say in a fellowship, one is too many and 1,000 never enough. And like, that was me right from the get-go. I could never just have one. And I didn't understand that, but I didn't think I had a problem, Phil.
Right.
For real.
No, I can believe that.
And the journey, like it says right here, the journey continues, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best score I ever did getting clean.
Yeah.
And
now you started at a young age. How did this affect your parents or you and your parents and so forth?
It's funny you asked that, right?
I say a lot of funny things.
Well, in reality, though, it's not funny because,
no, of course not.
Like, listen, I was brought up in a Catholic family. Mm-hmm. I wore a suit and tie to Catholic religion school, Catholic school, growing up in Burlington. I was a good student. I had a scholarship to play baseball.
Wow.
But what happened was, when I crossed that line, I like to say, like, I crossed that line when I got a scholarship to play baseball. Getting high was more important in my mind because it was an all-boys school called Austin Prep.
Oh, yeah.
At the time. And I told my dad, the scout, right in my home in Burlington, I'm not going. And my father's face just dropped to the ground because when that guy left, the scout left, and he says, "What the F did you just do?" I said, "Dad, I'm not going to an all-boys school, man. I'm not going to do it. I want to be with the girls and I want to do my thing." Right. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, my father kind of was a little different with me for the next few years because my addiction escalated.
All right. Did they ever get to a point where they knew your addiction was out of control and they had to cut ties with you, or did they continue to enable you, like I've been so famous for doing? What was the relationship develop as your addiction developed?
People say, you ever hear the cliche, old school?
Yes.
My parents weren't old school. They were just like, you're going to do we want to bring you up to do the right thing. And when I was doing drugs, basically, I did the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. So my dad was like, he just cut me off in a nice way, I guess you could say, like that. I won't say I guess. He just told me, if you just keep your grades up, graduate, go to college, But Phil, I was on such a roller coaster ride. Not only that, my father owned a liquor store, and I worked there.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And everything was free. Mm-hmm. And it kind of made my addiction even worse. But I didn't think I was that bad, But in 1993, when you asked that, I just was thinking about that. I'm sorry. But in about 1993, my sister and my father says, "You're going into a detox or you're out of the house and we don't want nothing to do with you."
Now, 1993, how old were you then?
Oh man.
Boy.
I was about, let's see.
Nobody said there was going to be tough questions.
40? Somewhere around 40.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I'm 66.
All right. So you were no kid?
No.
Okay.
So I was so bad. So they took me up to Hampstead.
Okay. Sure.
Right. I tell the truth. I don't sugarcoat this. Right.
Okay.
So they took me up there, and I'll never forget this because people out there that have like family can hear this, man. So I'm sitting there. And my father's right next to me and my sister, and the nurse comes out and she says to me, "How much cocaine do you do a week, Joel?" Right? And I looked at her and I said, about $1,000 back in '93, right? And I looked over to my left, and my father and my sister had tears rolling down their eyes so bad, man. And that was what I call the spiritual awakening that I didn't even know about back then, when I saw my sister and my father crying when I told them how much money I was spending on coke back then.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction to, I think I have a problem.
Really? That was also seeing how it affected your dad
Yes.
and your sister.
Oh my God,
made
yeah.
you realize, oh shit.
Yeah, like, because when you're getting high, who am I? This is what goes through most people's head. Who am I hurting?
Exactly.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who am I hurting?
Right.
You hurt your family, you hurt your kids, you hurt society.
Yeah. Well, I used to say that just about every addict probably affects at least 50 people.
Yes.
Oh yeah. At least.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so you're in Hampstead, and now you, for the first time, you realize you're not just a social user, you actually do have a problem. So what happens next?
So what happened was, Hampstead, right, wouldn't accept me because back then you had to either do heroin or drink.
Yeah.
So my father said, well, where can we bring him? So they took me to a place in Woburn, Massachusetts, which is not even there anymore, the Choate Hospital, which had a detox. And I stayed there and I did good, and I stayed clean for four months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not to interrupt you, but what he was saying was very true, really, up until recently.
Yeah.
If detoxes or places like that would not take you unless you were using something that had withdrawal, and theoretically, Coke doesn't have physical withdrawal.
Yeah, figure that out.
It's up here, but
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, I just wanted people to understand why
that's
they
good.
turned you down.
Yeah, and so the journey continued,
Mhm.
and so I stayed there, and I got clean for I stayed clean for 4 months, and after that, it's the old saying that you'll hear if you've been around here long enough. Someone comes up to you and you're not hanging around with the right people, and they say, "Hey, Joel, come on, just do one."
Yeah.
And the devil was right there, and I did one, and I was in jail from 94 to 1998, in and out, in and out, in and out, right? And then when my father passed away in 2010, on October 10th, 2010, the day he died, they called me. Well, back then they didn't have cell phones. We had these thing called beepers.
Yeah, I remember them.
So my aunt beat me, and I went down to Burlington, and my father's laying. I tell this story sometimes, not much, but my father was laying on a gurney, dying of cancer, looking out his beautiful townhouse in Burlington. And his last wish to everyone there was, I want to see my son Joel before I die.
Mm-hmm.
So I went down in an unregistered, uninsured car because I would never get caught, right? I got down there. He's laying there. I said, "Dad," right? And they're all saying, "Joel, he's not going to talk to you," because he was gasping for breath.
Right.
I go, "Dad," right? And he jumps up, stands up on the floor, looks at me, and says, "I'm going to go brush my teeth." Goes in the bathroom, brushes his teeth. True story, man. I got chills thinking about this. Comes back, lays back down on the gurney, goes like this to me, takes my head and puts my head down to his mouth and says, "I want you to get clean for your family and my grandkids, my kids," right? And then he went back into the comatose like. And that was the last thing he said to me. So everyone down there told me that he wanted me to come down so he could say goodbye to his son. How sad is that, man?
Well, tell me something. Did that do it?
2 weeks after he died, I got clean, and here I am.
Good.
You know what I mean? My clean date is November 4th, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget it, man. That was like my father. And for people out there, you don't have to wait till you're 45 years old to get clean like I did. Definitely for you younger people out there, man, get it now, man. Because I always say this, Phil, if I knew what I knew now when I was like in my 20s, I'd be sitting in Aruba on a hammock right now. You know?
All right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take 2 minutes. And when we come back, I want you guys to let us know what you're doing now, how it is with your family now, and maybe a message you can give to those that are listening, not only those that are having a problem, but the family members and how to deal with it. We'll be right back, guys. Hi there. My name's Phil Leahy, and I do the Empty Chair show here. And as much as Fran and I have enjoyed doing this show, our real passion is with where it all began, the Circle of Hope, my support group for the families of addicts. I learned a long time ago that dealing with an active addict is just too difficult. So we invite you to join our group, the Circle of Hope. Give me a call, 978-886-2949, and you'll see our banner on the show anyway. And give me a call, find out what it's all about. You know, if you don't think you're ready to sit into a group, Fran and I always invite people over to the house, and we sit down, have a one-on-one, and we talk about a plan you'll have to set up, how to deal with someone in active addiction, or just give you a chance to vent. So, I mean, if you or someone you know has dealing with someone in active addiction, reach out, give a call, take the first step. I promise you that it won't make it easier, but once you understand what it's all about, you'll be able to deal with it a little bit better. So again, 978-886-2949. Just ask for Phil. I'm always available 24/7. Thanks, and we'll see you on the Empty Chair. Bye-bye. Okay, we are back. And, you know, I have to apologize. I know this has been kind of a boring show, but, you know, it's their life. And, if it's dull and uninteresting, then, go watch TV.
I wouldn't recommend anybody live it.
Guys, I do thank you for coming back. I've known Reggie for quite a while. And actually, I didn't realize, but I have met Joel because it's quite a family. You meet people that are involved in it. And Joel reminded me that I met him at one of my daughter's celebrations. And so it's always, like I said, when I see someone that has that kind of clean time, it gives me hope for a lot of the people in my support group that their kids are still struggling. So it's always a good feeling.
Yeah, it's funny. Cole and I were chatting the other day and said, "Oh my God, put us all together with her."
Yeah.
We had 84 or 86 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
It's going to be
speaking
a
of
lot
which-
of years sitting in this room.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Cole's on the phone. Go ahead, Cole.
What do you?
Hi, guys.
What do you
Hi,
want?
Cole. You like the hat?
I do. And yes, it is 86 years between me, Reggie, and Joel.
Well, then that makes it 87 with mine, then, right?
Yes.
I think he just put us over 100.
Yeah, amen. So I'm not sick. I was just doing it precautionary because I was near someone who had COVID. So that's why Phil stepped in and did tonight, because you see how closed that room is, how we're sitting next to each other. But I'm sad that I'm not there with you guys. Joel, I really wanted to meet you. Angela talked so highly of you. And Reggie, I really wanted to see you. But you know what that means, Reggie? It just means you got to come back and do another show with me.
Got to come back. I'm more than happy
Yeah.
to. So what do you mean?
Yeah,
You were
and-
doing like that responsible thing and caring about others?
Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't have that problem, Cole.
Yeah, well, Phil, it's good to see you in there. I just wanted to wish Reggie, Joel, and especially Luke, because I'm not there, very Merry Christmas.
Same to you,
And
man.
Yep.
it's been a fun show to watch. I love you guys, and I will talk to you all soon.
Great.
All
Thank
right,
you,
lady.
Cole.
Take care.
All right,
Take
Merry
care.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We'll see you
Merry
soon,
Christmas.
hon.
All right.
That's great.
And I know everybody knows Cole. I know everybody realized she works out at the Methuen Police Station in the CARES department. And, she helps me in the Circle of Hope and Fran with resources for all of our people. And she, not only did she take over this show from me and doing better, but she also took over MVP ASAP for me and has really brought it to a new level. So obviously, I have a weak spot for Cole Welch.
No.
Yeah. And me and Fran, we just love her to death. Okay, guys. All right, now, I mentioned a little bit about family, and I don't know if I ever asked you, Reggie. When your family realized the problems you had and your connection with them now, kind of give us a little history on then and what it's like now.
Well, unfortunately, my stepfather, my mom, and my dad have all passed since. But the initial, when I was first trying to get clean, they had tried everything to help me. I had my stepfather was a chief of police, so a lot of times I'd get arrested and he'd pull some strings. And my dad, he wasn't like Trump wealthy, but he was doing good for himself, right? And so he would buy me out of trouble a lot.
Yeah.
And then that last time I was sitting in the prison cell, and they just said, leave him there, and they had to let go.
So they finally stopped enabling.
They stopped enabling, but of course, while I was sitting there in a cell, I wasn't too happy about that, and I had some choice words.
I'll bet you had some wonderful things to say about them.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But today I understand the amount of love that took. For them to let go, and they knew I had to do this on my own. They couldn't do it for me anymore. Yeah, and I just and from there I just excelled. I mean, I had the opportunity when I was 2 years into recovery. I went to college, and we're not dumb people. Like, I don't know about anyone else. I can only speak for myself. The things that I did out on the street to get just one more, some pretty hairy schemes. Yeah. And when I can take that brain and apply it to something positive. So I graduated with straight A's, from college.
It's funny you say that. I remember my daughter, one of the things she always used to say to me was, being an addict was the hardest job she ever had.
Oh God, yeah.
It was like 24/7.
Yep. And
it was
schemes.
Yeah.
So I left that. Excuse me. I left there, and my first job I was at for a couple of years, and then I had an opportunity to work for the company I work for now. I don't really want to throw it out on there, but it's in the aerospace defense industry, and I designed missiles and radar systems.
Yeah.
And it's my life for Raytheon. I worked for Raytheon, and I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be like doing this kind of thing. If you told me that like 31 years ago, I'd have told you whatever the hell you're using, give me a whole bunch of it, because you're insane. Yeah. And and things can happen.
Well, tell me now, the family you have now, what's that relationship like that? I mean, how did they look on you? Some people can never get over the fact that someone was an addict, and it don't matter how many years clean they have.
Oh yeah.
So what's your relationship with family?
Well, for my parents that had passed, the first couple of years, I was still kind of like not really welcome around, and that took some time.
Sure.
Which is fine. But now all I really have left is a couple of aunts and uncles, and my three younger sisters, and they're all proud of me, and
Good.
They respect me for what I've done. They tell other people how proud they are of where I came from, and I'm like the matriarch now. the old dude in the family, right?
No, that's and because like I said, I've seen from experience that some people they'll have clean time and it takes a long time to build up a trust.
Oh, yeah. Well, my stepfather, the one that, for instance, I talked about that was the chief of police, he didn't come to my first year anniversary, and I was kind of brokenhearted. And then my 5th anniversary, I asked him to come, and he said a leopard will never change its spots.
Oh.
And that hurt, you know, but I understood, like I had put him through hell, you know, and you can imagine me being an addict out on the street running and ripping, and he's a chief of police. So I humiliated him. Anyway, the good thing was on my 10-year anniversary, I didn't ask him to come. And I saw my mom walk in and my sisters, and my stepfather walked in and he hugged me and he told me he was proud of me.
But you know, I'm kind
of
took
10 years.
Yeah, but I'm kind of glad you brought that up because there is still, you know, obviously we all know about the stigma of addiction.
Yeah.
But there is still a lot of people who will not accept the fact that when you have an addiction, and it doesn't matter how you got there, genetics or whatever, but once you get there, you're a very sick individual.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to accept that it's not a social thing, that it truly is an illness that's treatable. If you can get the damn stupid addict to actually admit that they need help.
Yeah. Well, when I told my sponsor, you know, I was hurt that my stepfather wouldn't come to my anniversary, he said, you know, Reg, if you walk into the woods 20 miles, it's 20 miles out, but knowing you'll think what you think is a shortcut and it'll be 30 miles. Yeah. It was like, oh, thank that. How's that supposed to help me? But I understand now. It took a while to earn back the trust of my family because they had spent years destroying that trust.
Yeah. And like I said, and it's really only recently that people are starting to actually get an understanding of what addiction is. And, you know, and it takes time. You're right. It takes time to build up trust, but even more so, I wish that more people would educate themselves on what addiction really is.
Yeah, and like you were asking, you know, what do we do now, right? So, I mean, I've been going to meetings for a little over 31 years. I have, you know, a sponsor. I sponsor other men. I go on commitments to prisons and detoxes and try to carry the message of hope and tell people like I've been right where you're at. And I know what that feels like. Sure. And here's what I do today, you know, and I do those 5 musts that I talked about and I continue to do them. And you know, I've been able to do wonderful things. I have a home now. I have family. I have 2 children. And I just want to mention this too, because, you know, it's hard. Like my mom said to me one time when I took her out to make amends, right? That's part of this process. And I told her that I was sorry for all the years of hell I put her through, but I know she's heard a million sorries, but I'm going to do my best to be a son that she can be proud of. And she told me that she used to lay in bed at night and wait for the phone to ring to find out that I was dead. And that like crushed me. And she said something interesting. She said, someday you'll understand. You'll have a child just like you. And my daughter's now coming up on 6 months in recovery.
Oh.
And I used to lay in bed waiting for the phone call that she was on.
Believe me, I know the feeling, my friend.
So like it's come full circle now. And I understand that like that's just the pain and misery that caused everybody in my life. Yeah. And now, you know, thank God, you know, my daughter grew up with a parent in recovery and knew where to go.
Well, like I say, you know? I mean, she did have the benefit of having someone who understood what addiction was. But
she's died twice and been brought back to life. And the last time was, you know, 6 months ago. And I was watching TV and I saw her boyfriend's name come up on the TV because of that caller ID. Yeah. And I went into panic and I couldn't answer the phone. And my wife's looking at me. She says, why won't you answer the phone? I said, I'm afraid. Yeah. And he told me that he found her dead and he had 2 shots of Narcan and he's not an addict. And 2 days before my daughter OD'd, he got the brainstorm that he should probably keep some in the house. And if he hadn't gotten what I tell him is a message from God, my daughter wouldn't be here today with almost 6 years. That's 6 months clean.
That's great.
Wow.
And she's working a program. She's doing good.
She goes to meetings and she's funny. She says to me,
Now, how
is
old-
there any
how-
meeting I can go to
how
where they
old-
don't know you, Dad?
Yeah. How old is she, Reggie?
She's 23.
Wow.
Right? 24.
24.
She's 24.
Wow. And now her boyfriend, they're still together? Or?
Yeah, they got back together. He's
Good.
giving her another chance. She just got a cat, Felix the
Yeah.
cat. They named it. And,
Yeah.
remember the old freaking cartoon we used to watch? I
You
keep,
have a clock.
I keep hearing that
Felix
in my
clock.
head.
Well, that kind of gives you an insight of what parents go through.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But you know what? She knows because I learned the lesson from what my parents did.
Sure.
I don't enable her. I give her the tough love,
Yeah.
and so far it's working.
That's-
Because I'm not gonna co-sign a death warrant.
No.
And
Good for you.
it's hard as a parent.
yeah.
Any parents out there listening, please understand, especially during the holidays, it's the hardest thing to do is to say no to your child.
Yeah. And
But saying yes could also be hurting them.
right. And something that we learn over the years, and like I'm not a believer in detachment. I think you have to keep the lines of communication open.
Oh yeah.
And there's a fine line between enabling and supporting.
Right.
And with parents, it's even harder to find that. Joel,
Yeah.
all right, let's hear now. I know you got clean, and you really got a great gift from your dad. So family wise now, I mean, how are they with you? Are they all on board? Did they all realize the miracle you accomplished, or what?
My family is so proud of me.
Yeah.
I can I'll just step back just a little, when my parents died and then I got clean and here I am. My family has a lot of long time aging, longevity, we should call it. So when my uncle passed away at 96 back in 03, I, Joel, had the honor when my family asked me to do the eulogy.
Wow.
Right. And I wrote a big thing, and long story short, I'm still humbled to this day. I'm humbled to be here. I'm honored to be here. And I did the eulogy, and everybody, my whole family, my aunts and uncles, my family came up to me. They were all in tears. I had them crying. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't run in my family. So then my uncle passed away a couple of years ago at 96. My other uncle, my aunt died at 102. My other one died 101 last year.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I all got to go there, and I all got hugs. And Joel, we know what you're doing. They're not addicts. They tell me. We see you right on, on Facebook. I'm carrying the message tonight, and I'll just show the Ricker House of Correction or something like that. And I'm not tapping myself on the shoulder for that in any way. I give back what was so freely given to me. Because if it wasn't for people like him that came before me, my family wouldn't be around because I wouldn't be clean, Phil. I needed evidence. And he is one of the ones that gave me evidence.
Okay, well, why don't you tell us about the connection between you and Santa Claus here?
Yeah.
So me and Reggie, right? He's known me now over 20 years, right?
Yep.
He's my sponsor.
Okay.
All right. And we're
Don't know if that's a good thing.
well, it is a good thing. He knows that. He's just kidding. Right.
I don't know. I
He's
think
like-
I know Reggie's a very serious person.
I mean, he looks like my big brother, but really he's my little brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I'm older, right? But I'll be forever grateful for him for showing me the way and not sugarcoating it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And my family benefits from people like him. He knows some of my family members. Like my kids are in my life, like big time. I'll tell this story. When I had 2 years clean, 2 years, Phil, I call it the show me tour. When I first got clean, you had to show your family for 2 years. If we're going to come back in your life, you show me, Joel. So for 2 years, I stay clean. I go to jails. I go to detoxes, right? So I have twin boys that are just 38. They just turned 38, right?
Okay.
Because I know you think I'm 49.
Yeah, we went through that before.
right?
And
So-
actually, you've gained 10
He's
years
gained
from the
it,
last
yeah, a
time you
little
told
and,
me.
and I have a daughter who's going to be 30. So my boys, I asked them on my 2-year anniversary, I said, you guys want to come to my celebration? I'm celebrating 2 years clean in Lowell. Right. And they both looked at me and said, Dad, we want to be there. So we get there. They have the meeting. At the end of the meeting, they present me, but they stopped and they said, you two boys come up here with your father. And they presented both my boys with one each.
Wow.
But this is the one that I want to tell the people out there that will really, my eyes are watering right now. So on the way back, when I gave my boys a ride home, I said to them, so what did you guys think of that? And they said, Dad, we're so proud of you, but we effing never want to be like you.
Good.
And that hit hard.
Yeah.
That hit hard, man. And my other son said the same thing. And I looked at him and I said, you know what, boys, you don't ever have to be like me. And they're living the dream right now. They're doing very well.
That's good. You know, I got to tell you, as the family of an addict in recovery, my daughter gave me the honor to present her on her 1-year recovery. And it was, you know, to me, it was just the most amazing because I listened to her speak, and she's quite the speaker.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I listened to her speak, and because like most parents, like you just thought not that long ago, I thought that I was going to outlive her. I was, you know, I mean, she overdosed a couple of times and in the hospital and so forth. But family members, we envy the way your attitude is. People who really grasp recovery and we can see the gratitude you have. I'll tell you, people like myself, we envy your gratitude because so many people take everything else for granted and you guys don't.
Well, your daughter, for funny, anytime I've had her come speak for me on a commitment somewhere, I would always ask her, it's like, do you take a breath in between? She could just talk so fast. And I'd be like waiting for her to take a breath. She's not a sweetheart.
She gets a lot of words in a short amount of time.
Yes, she does. If just quick, I could tell you how I met Joel was I was speaking at a meeting, and he's sitting in the front row, you know, and of course we call that where the the more crippled addicts need to be up in the front row. Intensive care. And he just reminded me of, you remember back in the day when we had the big boats for a car, and in the back window there's the little doggy with the head bobbing up and down.
I had one.
That was this guy listening to me. His head was going up and down, like, because he was identifying. When people do this, right, they're comparing. But he was going up and down with his head, and he just came up to me afterwards and asked me to sponsor him. That's an honor in itself, and a privilege to be asked.
And it is. And to me, I mean, meetings were important and so forth. But, I mean, I deal with quite a few of the younger ones that are in early recovery. And I'm not really too excited until they tell me they have a sponsor. Someone that they can trust. Someone that they...
Yes.
And to me, that is one of the most important things about your recovery. And we got someone?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Phil. Hi, Reggie. Hi, Joel. It's Michelle from Lawrence.
Hi.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi. How are you guys?
Living the dream.
Living the dream,
That's right. I am so happy to hear you guys and hear you spreading the message on the empty chair tonight. I watch it every time it's on. And Joel, I probably have told this to you before, but like when I came in to the room of NA, you were like one of the pinch hitters. There were 4 guys in November of 2008, and you were one of them. And you offered me hope. And like, I heard 4 stories, and 3 of those guys are still good in recovery. They're still, solid in their program.
Hmm.
And Billy M. from Lynn, I don't know what his circumstances is other than he's deceased. I don't know how or why, but he was one of the ones that's the other of the four. And Joel, like, you had those gold tooth earrings, and like they called you like this clean.
Well, we weren't going to talk about that, I guess, but
Well, it's all about honesty.
oh
right?
yeah,
It is.
And like, you're talking about like, I want what you have, right? And like, I wanted those gold earrings. I didn't want a man because I had one. I was a married woman at the time. Unfortunately, my husband passed, as you both know.
Yeah.
As a result of this fatal disease, and he passed away in 2010. And here's the hope shot. Like, I had 15 months clean when he passed, and you know what? Due to this fellowship and the people in it, they supported me, they surrounded me, they held me up, and like I walked through that.
yeah. That is a really good point, Michelle, because you got to have a support system, especially when you go through something like you did, where it's so easy to fall off the edge.
Yep. And then Reggie, I don't want to leave you out.
Oh, leave them out. Leave them out.
Okay.
So Reggie, you've been around long enough for the guys that have come after you in the woman to and your truth and your honesty is so raw, and it brings me back to when I spent some time at MCI Framingham, and my parents used that tough love on me too, and I was feeling the concrete walls, and I'm like, it can't be the drugs. As I'm taking opiates, and because they didn't offer, maintenance in the institutions at that time.
Yeah.
But I just you were always a solid guy that even though you had 31 years, like you were relatable, I still related to you,
Thank
and
you.
when you were talking about your parents, like like my mother never made it to a meeting to see me celebrate, and I was always like, I didn't understand, and today it's part of her process, and like I just celebrated 13 years.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. And then in that same month, my mom passed away, but
Sorry, man.
I she had cancer, and cancer stinks, and but I was able to walk through that fear too, knowing that like I already had walked through it on several of occasions of people that I lost, not only in the fellowship, but family members and stuff. And like I stayed clean long enough to like know the miracles. And even though the miracles don't come every day, but I find gratitude in the simplest things and the things that I can hold on to. Because I'd be like, yeah, I'm sad. But here's the gratitude. It's like, I don't have to use over the fact that I'm sad, and I don't want to be under the influence either, because like I deal with things a lot better when I'm clear-headed than when I'm impaired from a substance, whatever that substance may be. So I just wanted to give you guys props. Wish you a Merry Christmas. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. And
Michelle.
Merry Christmas.
Michelle, who loves you?
You do, Joel.
That's right. You heard about Marilyn too, didn't you?
What's that?
Did
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, she passed a couple of days after my mom, actually.
I'm devastated, man.
Yeah. But tell your lovely wives I said hello, and give them a big hug from Michelle C. from Lawrence, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. All right,
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for
Merry
calling,
Christmas.
Michelle.
Bye. Take care.
Bye now. So we ain't got a whole lot of time. So what I'd like to do is we'll start with you, Joe, and kind of give these people out here, it being Christmas, kind of give them a hopeful message.
Yeah, I'll give you a hopeful message. All right. Like, first of all, thank you for having me here. Right. And life is good. Life is good. As long as you don't pick it up. If you don't pick it up, you don't get high. Life is good. Because just because I'm clean, people say like, I don't do anything perfect and I'm no better than anybody. But the only thing I do perfect, I try to do every single day, is at 12:01 tonight, I'll have another day clean. And this is the best score I ever did getting clean. The disease will make you think you can think, and it will make you think it's okay to get high. But like, this is who I'm supposed to be. Life is good. The clock is ticking, people. Enjoy life. Wait a minute. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Joe. Reggie, the floor is yours.
Oh, geez. Kind of ditto to what Joel just said, and I just think back to a little bit of what I was saying earlier. If you're a parent or a child, you have a loved one in your family, your child, your parent, even just a family member. And as long as they're above ground and breathing, don't ever give up hope. Like I've seen people just go to like bottoms that you wouldn't believe. And it just takes that one spark of hope to bring them back to life. I know that from my own experience sitting in a jail cell and thinking that it was over. And, just love them up and pray for them, I believe that, prayers are answered. And as long as we're breathing, there's always hope for people like us. And, it's just my sponsor used to always say, don't ever give up before the miracle happens. Don't give up one day before the miracle happens.
Well said.
Yeah. And I'd like to wish you all a Merry, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever, happy Hanukkah. And let's all hope for a brand new year that's happy for all of us. And we can get back to some kind of normalcy in life and have pandemics go away. And let's get back to normal.
A lot of fishing.
And, guys, I don't do this show very often, but I'm glad I got to do it with guys that were at least born in the same century as me. Anyway, folks, before we sign off, these guys have been clean for a long time, and there's more available out there now for treatment than there was back then.
Yeah,
there's more people that can help you. Cole has mentioned it numerous times that during this pandemic, unfortunately, substance abuse has been put on the back burner. Well, just so you know,
and substance use has got
substance
worse.
use, and just so you know, that overdoses during the pandemic has increased 30%.
Yeah,
because
So
people
sad.
are isolated and so forth. We're not the flavor of the month anymore, but people are dying and there's no need for it because there's help out there. So the message I want to give to you guys on this holiday season is whether you're using or you're in early recovery or you're the family of someone who's using, take that first step. Make a phone call. Reach out. You can't do it by yourself. Don't hide it. There's no shame. You'll see my number up there all the time. Give me a call. If I can't help you, we have the resources and I can send them to you.
Nice.
So that being said, again, guys, thank you. Lou, as always, I missed you. It was nice being here with you again.
Good to have you back.
And I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And bye-bye. We'll see you again on the empty chair.
We'll see you soon, Cole.
Take care.